Is it possible to fall in love with a mountain? Long ago, in a time when acid rain was a big news story, we took a trip to a very special mountain. Let's join the adventure crew on playing guitar, writing songs, and Mount Cardigan, and get that special feeling. That special feeling, oh yeah, every time I see you standing there. Oh Cardigan, you're back in my heart again, and I can tell you, you are my friend. Cardigan, oh yeah. The Cardigan Adventure. That's what our show is about today. My name is Dan Brillman, and this is
Playing guitar, writing songs, and what's that story about? What's that song about? Playing guitar, writing songs, and
Today's show is very special to me. We've dug deep into our video archives, back to when I worked at Continental Cablevision, back to when we carried a tube camera and a video deck hanging at our side. This was before digital recording in high definition. We did a half-hour special called The Cardigan Adventure. We're going all the way back to 1992. I dedicated it to my father, who taught me to see nature with my heart. I came from a scouting family. That's me on the right, my sister Diane and my brother Glenn in the scout uniforms. Gail and Chris were too young, and my dad is on the far left. He was my scoutmaster. Here's a picture of our troop, Troop 60, ready for a backpacking adventure. My dad was always last because he didn't want us to get lost on the trail. Here's a picture of my dad when he was a Boy Scout. My dad always had a lot of stories. One was the grain of sand story. You take one little grain of sand, and then you scoop a handful of sand, and you think about how many grains are in that handful. And then you think about how many grains of sand are on a beach. And then you think of how many beaches there are in the world. Now that story really gave me an appreciation of how extraordinary and vast this world really is. My father had a profound effect on me as a young boy, and I carried this love for nature throughout my life. It's the love for the environment that my dad taught me, a love I carried with me to one of my favorite mountains in central New Hampshire. Let's visit Mount Cardigan. Give me a sense of what it is that draws you from the city to the wilderness.
I think it's the peace and tranquility up there, and when you get up there, there's a lot of other people up there, both doctors, lawyers, and everybody is the same. They're all up there to enjoy the outdoors and just take in all the nature that's up there and appreciate everything that we've got around.
come on along, help me sing this song, the Adventure Crew. That's me and you, something brand new. It's us, that's who, the Adventure Crew. See how it grew, sky so blue, not just a few, it's the whole world too, on the Adventure Crew, on the Adventure Crew, on the Adventure Crew.
The moment you lay eyes on old Baldface, you know there's something special about the land which he dominates. Not just because he's a mountain with grand and spectacular views, or because there's the prospect of visual adventures, natural sounds, and physical challenges. No, there's something more to this worldly realm, something you just can't put your finger on.
There are many attractions in this area. Clear brooks and sculptured rocks invite swimmers. Fluffy white clouds over Newfound Lake for boaters and tourists alike. But in this adventure, we'll explore the trails and vistas, flowers and wildlife, learn about the history, and glimpse at the future of a mountain in central New Hampshire. In a small town west of Newfound Lake, known as Alexandria, in a time when the Shem Valley was dotted with farms. It was 1934 when the Appalachian Mountain Club purchased property and built the Cardigan Lodge. It was an ideal place to ski. A time when people came together to create a place that to this day is filled with the warm, friendly spirit of man's affection for the earth. The lodge is maintained by volunteers led by the Cardigan Committee. Each spring, a weekend is set aside to clean, repair, and keep the lodge in tip-top shape. Soon the season will be upon them. Looking forward to many guests, a summer and fall filled with weeks of activities, cookouts, and a relaxing forgetfulness of the rushing world that surrounds them awaits. One way volunteers help to maintain a clean and natural environment is through trail work. During Trail Work Weekend in May, a group of old friends and many new friends came together to keep the Cardigan tradition alive. We asked one of the crew leaders why they do it.
First off, I think they all have an interest in hiking and an interest in maintaining the trails in good condition. Second, I think the group that comes out to do this kind of work has a lot of camaraderie. We just have a darn good time. And third, it's really fun going back over a trail that you've worked on and to see your work and to see what it's doing and how it's holding up.
But I think the big thing is just the joy of giving something back for all the pleasure that we all get out of this. I think most people, that's why they're here.
Not all trail work is done with chainsaws and heavy tools. There's a technique called brushing, considered light work, but still backbreaking, considering the constant bending. And not all trail work is done by youngsters either.
Right now, we're not in very good shape. We found that out yesterday. This was a bad winter. We didn't get out. It was icy, and we just never did get out very much this winter. So we have to work at it this summer to get back in shape again. It's possible. They have found, hospitals now have been trying exercises on people in their 90s and have found that they come back and find that they can do more than they ever thought they could. So if you're only in your 70s, it's time to get out and have fun.
Everyone who hikes the trails can help, just in the way we use them. The best way to maintain them is proper use.
People on their own, after trail work is done or on existing trails, is basically stay on the trail. If you come across a muddy spot on the trail, don't walk around or off the trail, because that starts more erosion. If you just really, you have to, whether you like it or not, walk through the mud, the existing trail, because chances are it may look muddy, but it's not. You're not going to go out of sight.
That special feeling. Oh yeah. Every time I see you. Oh yeah. Get that special feeling.
feel it in the air. Every time I see you standing there. Oh, Cardigan, you're back in my heart again. I can tell you, you are my friend. Cardigan, oh yeah. I get that special feeling in order to get something done every time I see you standing there.
With the help of Bob Kinzinski, a Cardigan committeeman who's been researching the mountain's history, we were led to nearby Bristol in the Minot Sleeper Library. There, several old and rare books contain some interesting facts.
In February 1924, Robert, Charles, and Francis Manning were hiking along a stretch of tracks north of Glencliff Station. The station master assured them that no train was due, and because of blizzard conditions, they never heard the train, which tragically took their lives. This trail bears the Manning name, a lasting tribute to three brothers who loved to hike. The mountains are filled with a sense of joy and wonder, but they also contain memories of fear and death, as in the case of Mrs. Chillis, who, according to her husband, was taking a shortcut across this mountain in the spring of 1827. Later that fall, woodcutters found her clothed skeleton reaching for a brook. This is the site of the old Dodge Davies factory here in Bristol, New Hampshire, where John Musgrove experimented with a garment in the mid-1800s, which may connect in your memory. That garment was none other than the Cardigan sweater. History is a curious thing. It can be tedious or quite fascinating. Who was Elizabeth Holt, and why is Cardigan's most difficult trail named after her?
Camp Mowgli, the oldest boys' camp in the country, to this day instills traditional values and a respect for nature through its School of the Open.
Elizabeth Ford Holt founded Mowgli in 1903. She had lived in Boston. She came up and purchased what was known as the old Barnard Farm. And she ran the camp from 1903 until 1925. And over those years, made a significant impression upon the boys and the staff that served here with her. And upon her death in 1925, the boys and staff built the Elizabeth Ford Holt Trail up Cardigan in her honor. That was done in 1927 specifically, and we continue to maintain that trail today, along with a good many other trails in the area as well.
With so much to learn and experience, what more could we ask for? Are you ready for a scramble? I hope you have good hiking shoes. Let's climb the Elizabeth Holt Trail.
Scrambling over the peak, a sudden squall with hail and high winds forced us to seek the nearest shelter, which was High Cabin. Just a few hundred feet below the summit, it was like a different world. The wind now a gentle breeze, the rain lightly falling, nourishing the earth. On the west side of Mount Cardigan, at 1,900 feet above sea level, a 50-year-old state facility was falling apart, attracting vandalistic behavior, and about to be dismantled. In nearby Canaan, public outcries and a series of town meetings not only saved the park, it produced the Friends of Mount Cardigan. With the help of grants and the efforts of this cross-section of resident caretakers, a new facility was built and a community's pride is restored.
Grew up in this area, and they remember the whole thing from when they were little children, and they just want to see the thing continue, and they want the mountain to be used, but properly, and they want to make the park accessible to the same number of people that would use the trails on the mountain.
Trails on the west side are maintained by the Cardigan Highlanders. Their job is to create a stable situation between two forces, the flow of water and the flow of people. Craig Sanborn works approximately 150 volunteer hours a year towards this effort.
And we have to do something to take care of our home, this planet. This is my way, because if we have trails that lie lightly on the land, but allow people to get out and see things, it tends to increase their awareness of the beauty and the fragility of the place where they live.
According to Craig, there are lovely places everywhere. He encourages the understanding and enjoyment of nature and advises us to slow down, to feel the flow of the world around us. Nick Cohen is also a Cardigan Highlander.
Most people are concerned with economic things more than anything else, and one of the prime purposes of environmentalists is to make the public aware that the natural beauty of our environment is perhaps one of the most important things in our lives, and certainly the most pleasurable thing. But very many people never experience it. I think most people don't really get out into the natural world and discover it the way they should. I come from the city, from New York, and I was gradually introduced to it and learned about how nice it was over the years, and it took some doing. It's something I had to get familiar with gradually, and now I love it.
That special feeling's beginning again. That special feeling. Oh yeah. That special feeling. On Cardigan, I get excited down to my soul. You make me feel childlike. I wanna lose control. I wanna start to jump and sing. It's Cardigan again, my friend. That special feeling. Oh yeah.
That special feeling. It's the beauty of the world around us, as if it's all simply perfect. But as we know, the world isn't perfect, and some of that imperfection is at the hands of the human population.
There's been an ongoing debate for probably something over 10 years now about whether those changes are due to acid precipitation or not.
Throughout the weeks we videotaped the expansive area surrounding Cardigan, we noticed red blotches in some of the spruce trees. An eerie sight that made us wonder about the effects of modern pollution. During the time in between visits, we made numerous phone calls to local experts. We found that little was known, and no one could say with any surety what was killing the spruce.
It is so difficult to get data for something like the red spruce decline that one may just have to work on guesswork, on the best guess, and say, well, we think that if acid rain is not, or acid precipitation may or may not be the primary thing, but it's probably one element, and therefore we ought to do something about it and not wait until we find the last piece of scientific evidence proving that that's conclusively it.
The New Hampshire Department of Environmental Services has been monitoring the acidity of precipitation since 1972 and has found that the new Clean Air Act laws have actually benefited the environment. However, they have also found that the already high acid levels in the lakes and ponds has resulted in lower species diversity. Also, 95% of the remote ponds have a lower buffering capacity. This low alkalinity compounded with highly acidified snowmelts means that they must stock these ponds because the fish are unable to reproduce naturally.
I don't think there's any question that we shouldn't be cleaning up our waters, cleaning up our air. There have been a lot of studies looking at economics and what is the impact of pollution. And generally, people, number one, are willing to pay to clean up pollution, and the economics indicate that it's economically feasible. You create jobs when you're building pollution abatement facilities, and you look at what the effects of the pollutants are, and in particular, like acid rain, its impacts on materials in terms of buildings and structures.
One phenomenon of modern pollution is urban smog. Automobiles create a ground-level ozone that is hazardous to plants, animals, and humans. The Union of Concerned Scientists claim that cars are one of the greatest contributors to environmental degradation. At the base of Mount Washington, the highest summit in the Northeast, Pinkham Notch is the site of a survey conducted in cooperation with the Harvard School of Public Health, Brigham and Women's Hospital, and the Appalachian Mountain Club. They are monitoring the pulmonary effects of ozone on hikers.
What I think is exciting for them is it's very high-tech equipment. They can see on a computer screen what's happening. They can see how quickly their lungs are responding. They can see their breath on the machine.
The mission of the Appalachian Mountain Club is to protect natural resources, like the mountain's living inhabitants, the birds and the bees, along with the water and the air. Our enjoyment of these beauties depends in part on our ability to see them. At nearby Camp Dodge, an automated camera takes pictures of Mount Jefferson 3 times a day. The findings are that smog is not only an urban problem. The airborne particulates that cause this condition are carried by winds from the south containing emissions from coal-burning plants and cars. The AMC is using research and education to alleviate this condition.
What we're trying to do here is to educate people. We want people to know what they can do, and to start with themselves as taking responsibility for their own cars and their own auto emissions, as well as pushing for more stringent laws.
In many cultures, mountains are revered, thought of as beyond reach. Here in the Great Gulf Wilderness, this awe is translated into the marvel and appreciation we feel while in their presence. In some countries, people go on a pilgrimage. In America, we go on vacations. We travel to places to get away from the fast-paced workaday world. We seek the quiet peace and refreshing pure air. Yet at over 6,000 feet above sea level, atop Mount Washington, ozone levels have exceeded the Environmental Protection Agency's standard by 123%. The very same standard set for cities like New York and Los Angeles. The strength and resilience of the earth offers hope. But will this be enough? The power and ability of the human race to adapt and care gives us reason to be optimistic, especially when we see children learning what's special about their earth, experiencing a world that's alive with wonder and filled with exciting discoveries. At Mount Cardigan, a tradition of introducing youngsters to our world has been going on for generations.
Wow, yeah. Until you learn to hike.
I think it's very important. Yeah, it's a sense of nature and the environment. Everything's just not city streets and cars. But I think the kids really enjoy being out there. It's things where they can explore and everything and just do what they want to sort of run by themselves, which is nice.
Whether with a group on a family weekend or a more individualized activity of backpacking with a young son, the results are the same. A sense of excitement, a feeling of kinship, closeness to wonders, impressions that last a lifetime. The spirit of appreciation, all for us to experience. The Boston chapter of the AMC's headquarters is located at 5 Joy Street, filled with reference materials, maps, and experts to help you find the adventure you're looking for.
Each mountain has a different experience to offer to people, and it is important to pick the mountain and the trail that you're ready for. But we do have programs that are geared toward getting families outdoors with young children, and also older people who don't necessarily want to take the steep route to the top. As long as people are prepared and take it one step at a time, almost anybody can get out and really enjoy the outdoors.
The state of New Hampshire also encourages visitors to Cardigan. There's no camping, and you'll have to bring your own trash bags because there aren't no trash cans. There are, however, picnic facilities, toilets, and free parking at the beginning of 2 trails to the summit.
Come up and enjoy it and hike, or have a picnic if you're not into hiking. Yeah, it's a great kind of views. You have a view of Killington and over in Vermont from the parking lot, and other ranges. So you get some nice views. You're at 1,900 feet elevation here.
The Cardigan Lodge and Reservation is managed by an all-volunteer group whose philosophy is to make the mountain available to the public and guests for outdoor activities ranging from hiking to skiing. This rustic mountain inn is the scene for many a hearty meal and offers private, semi-private, and bunk-style rooms.
We have 16 different rooms in the lodge, and we also have platform tents and campsites here so that people can sort of have a choice of the kind of lodging they would like to have when they come here. People who come down off the mountain or have gone up the mountain often stop in the lodge for a bite to eat or something to drink, to get a trail map, to get some insect repellent, and by doing that, learn a little bit more about the lodge and eventually come back as guests.
So much more can be expressed and learned about this mountain's domain in central New Hampshire. But as I mentioned at the beginning of this adventure, you just can't put your finger on the words to express the special feeling it evokes. There's nothing like being here, surrounded by the natural world, this planet, our home. And if pictures say 1,000 words, then video must speak volumes. Our human interaction with this fragile environment on which we depend has suffered most severely from the Industrial Revolution. Our future must depend on what the younger generations are learning, or even deeper, how they are taught to feel.
We're getting a feel for the actual wilderness and what it's really like. There aren't many places left in the country where you can see wilderness almost untouched by man. And this is one of those few places. Once you get up to the top of such a mountain, you can look over and you can see for miles and just see green and how nature is really out there.
Now that you know a little bit more about Mount Cardigan, perhaps your interest has been stimulated. Speaking for the adventure crew, we hope you get a chance to enjoy the experiences this world has to offer. And we leave you with this Native American saying: we do not inherit this world from our ancestors, we borrow it from our children.
Times that invite, things that excite, took the fight of my imagination, lifted up all the nations, in our backyard, look the wonders near and far, we'll get there by car in less than a day, and you'll hear us say, we're the adventure crew, the adventure crew. Adventure crew, adventure crew, adventure crew. That's me and you in a world so beautiful. Don't be a fool. Let's go now. Wow! We're the adventure crew. We're the adventure crew. We're the adventure crew. The adventure
It was so important for me to have someone like my father to teach me how crucial our environment is. He was my very first environmental hero, and he continues to inspire me. My dad is one of the reasons I do these videos. I hiked Cardigan a number of times, and I was very glad that my dad and I were able to watch the Cardigan adventure together. I'd like to thank the crew because without them, we wouldn't be here. Marilyn Brillman, Aaron Connor, Sean Connor, Tracy Crean, Billy Davis, Justin Shanahan, and Kathy Welch.
That was fun. Playing guitar, writing songs, and what's that story about? What's that song?
And now I want to close with a theme song that I wrote for Cardigan. That special feeling, oh yeah, every time I see you standing there. Oh, Cardigan, you're back in my heart again, and I can tell you, you are my friend, Cardigan, oh yeah. That special feeling, oh yeah, every time I see you standing there. Cardigan, you're back in my heart again, and I can tell you, you are my friend, Cardigan, oh yeah.
There is a hill in Sharon, Massachusetts, in a town that proclaims to the world that it is a better place to live because it is naturally beautiful. Yet nature is threatened with extensive development. This pristine, healthy, mineralized water could be confined to a pipe beneath tar and concrete. Join e-awakening.com on our next show of playing guitar, writing songs, and Rattlesnake Hill, and see how some people are fighting to save an irreplaceable, undisturbed wilderness, and what our environment stands to lose if the people of Sharon allow the destruction of Rattlesnake Hill.
Hello, and welcome to the E-Awakening Hour. I'm Dan Brillman, one half of e-awakening.com.
And I'm Marilyn Brillman, the other half of e-awakening.com. We produce environmental videos where we shine a spotlight on people, groups, and organizations that are doing positive things for the environment.
At e-awakening.com, we tell video stories because we believe that the more stories there are about environmental heroes, the more people will want to become environmental heroes to protect the natural places, the wildlife, and the wild plants. Let me take you on a video tour of our website. When you go to our website, over here on the left-hand side, you'll see these buttons. Like this is the Base Circuit Trail button. You click that on and you go to all the 22 different Base Circuit Trail days. It also has a music video and a dedication tribute video. And when you go back to the home page, you'll see that Dan's music, a second button down here, and that button takes me to my music. Trail Town is one of the songs. You can just go to Trail Town, click it on, and the music video will come on. And then you can go back to our home page again. And from the home page, you can see the Holbrook Town Forest videos. There's 6 different episodes on the Holbrook Town Forest page, and then as you go down to the Massasoit page, you'll see the Buzz on Bees and Massasoit Landscape Story. Go back to our home page, and you'll see on the front here, in this big rectangle, is our Playing Guitar, Writing Songs, and series. You click here, and it'll take you to the 3 shows that we've done so far: Saving Forests, about the Holbrook Town Forest, the Bay Circuit Trail, and Rumney Marsh. Go back to our home page, and you'll see down here the Buzz on Bees, which is a Massasoit story that's featured on our front page, and Rattlesnake Hill.
That's my water right there, that water that goes there.
This is a story about a man who lives at the base of Rattlesnake Hill in Sharon, Massachusetts, and it's an interesting story about how he is trying to save the hill from development. And as you go over here to our left-hand side again on our home page, you'll see E-Awakening's index. And on the index, you have the Appalachian Trail, which is a series of stories that I did on the Appalachian Trail hike. And I go over here to the Bay Circuit Trails, Cable Show series, Conservation. We have a page that has saving energy, driving in the egg, and reducing CO2. We go back to the home page, and we have E-Awakening Presents series, which is 24 different shows. Each one of these shows is downloadable. So you click on the 24th show, and it takes you to that show. And you go back to the home page, and you can click on the E-Awakening Presents again, and you can see all the different shows that we have on that series. And here is a list of videos. This is a list of all the videos we've done. The documentaries, Mountain Song, music videos, The Road series, Bay Circuit Trail series, the E-Awakening Presents series, and Playing Guitar and Writing Song series, our newest series that we're recording at the Abington studios.
Now over here are all our video stories. Al French and the Gateway Project, going down to the Ghost of Nature, and a whole bunch of different stories. But today, Kathleen Anderson is our focus. We click on the Kathleen Anderson button, and you will see that they're on this page with Rumney Marsh and Kathleen Anderson. You just click in Kathleen's picture, and it takes you to the video that we're about to show you.
When you're excited about something, how do you not share it? This is a spruce tree that we planted. See why it's called Gold Thread? That one I'll have to look up when I get back to the house.
Kathleen Anderson enjoys a long and illustrious career in the study and preservation of nature. Professionally, she worked at an encephalitis field station doing research on the EEE virus. She also worked as a teacher for the Massachusetts Audubon Society. She established an Operation Recovery bird study station on Duxbury Beach and worked as the director of the Manomet Bird Observatory. Kathleen Anderson is a founding trustee of the Plymouth County Wildlands Trust and chairperson for the Massachusetts Natural Heritage and Endangered Species Program. And she has authored 50 published papers. But this is just a brief glimpse into the life of Kathleen Anderson.
But I said to myself, I wonder, if I put out some breadcrumbs, I wonder what kind of birds there are around here. So I scattered out some breadcrumbs, and the next morning there were juncos feeding on the breadcrumbs. And so I thought, the first bird for Wolf Trap Hill. We were already calling it Wolf Trap Hill. And I said, well, I'm going to start a list. So I got a piece of paper and started a list. And at that point it was just that, a piece of paper and a list. But then within a few days I added some more birds, white-throated sparrow, fox sparrow I remember. And so then I got a notebook. So I'd say I started my journals November 30th of 1950.
Perhaps one of the most basic yet notable achievements in Kathleen's life are her carefully written records. Observations from Wolf Trap Farm in Middleborough, Massachusetts, where she and her husband settled on a 100-acre piece of nature.
Get in touch with the land. In touch with the land. We'll get in touch with the land. With the land.
And just a few days ago I found another plant. I'm always finding something new. Not so many birds. I so far have identified 183 species of birds on this farm.
Since you've started keeping records, what kind of environmental or changes to the birds, changes to the habitats?
Oh, the tremendous decrease in birds. Walking these woods over these years, there's been a tremendous decrease in birds.
Kathleen, I mean, that's a really important point that you're making about the changes that you've seen to the environment.
There are more subtle changes now that are really disturbing. For years I've walked through the woods in the spring, and the ovenbird is one of those. Do you know the ovenbird? It's a warbler, a very noisy ground nesting warbler, and it just practically shouts, teacher, 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 teacher. If you have ears, you can hear them even if you don't know what they are. And I could walk back through the woods and there'd be all these ovenbirds in early June singing on territory. I could easily count 8 or 9 more if I went all through the woods. I walked in the woods this spring and I heard 1. And there were a couple of times when I heard 2. That's all I heard. And yet the woods look very much as they have for the last 30 years.
People talk about, the environment, and, it's all natural, it's cyclical, it comes in circles, and, it's just something that happens. And they kind of poo-poo the idea that humans are responsible for it.
No. The humans are responsible for most of the changes now, I think. It's very hard to measure exactly which changes we are responsible for. We certainly were responsible for clearing the forests. Years ago, before there was sensitive equipment for monitoring the health in mines, they took canaries into the mines. And if the canary dropped dead, it was a warning to humans that they would soon be sick too. And so it's become an analogy, a trite saying. The canary in the coal mine has something to tell us. Well, if the birds can't survive in an environment that appears to be healthy, there's a message there for us.
I mean, you told me before that it's not what you're hearing right now. We hear a lot of birds. It's what you're not hearing. And I'm sure that you're not hearing a lot of sounds that you heard 50 years ago.
We have a finger in a dike, and the dike is crumbling. There will come a time when it will be so obvious that people will be wringing their hands and saying, why didn't somebody do something? And I don't know how soon that time will be.
Have you seen any kind of escalation going on to these changes? Is anything speeding up that's making you aware?
Well, development in Middleborough is the thing that is most distressing to me. Going by farms that were profitable dairy farms. At one time, we must have had 15 or 20 dairy farms in Middleborough. This is the second largest town in the Commonwealth in area. There's one left. And there were lots of chicken farms. There were none. And where there were farms, there were housing developments. And where there were woodlands with white pine growing up, there were developments. There's increasing pressure. But that's happening everywhere. And I think that that is the thing that disturbs me most.
Kathleen, I got to ask you, do you think there's hope for the future?
Well, I'd go bury my head in my pillow if I thought there was no hope. Basically, I'm an optimistic person. I get discouraged, but I have to keep thinking there has to be some hope. It's going to be obvious to us all. We have to make some changes in our sense of values, in the way we live. If we don't make the changes willingly and soon, we're going to be forced to make them in a more unpleasant way.
You have this beautiful yard, and you've had such great experiences in your life. And if you were going to talk to young people about, thinking about studying birds and the environment, what would you say to them? What's the important things that you've learned that you would like to express to them?
Use every opportunity to get out and look at what's around you and learn to identify things. Because in order to love something and want to protect it, you have to know what it is. All we really need to survive are the same things a rabbit does. We've got to have clean air, we've got to have clean water, we have to have some good food and some shelter. And I just wish that we could somehow change our culture from being so materialistic with acquiring things and redoing things and just appreciate what we have all around us.
What could you say to educators and the people that are teaching our children? What could they do to stimulate this interest in children?
Bring things from the out of doors in. That's what Mass Audubon's education program did. When it was Christmas time, of course, I had this wonderful resource, but I'd go out and pick some branches of holly and white pines and the various trees and bring them in and let the children feel them. And even if they lived in an apartment, I hoped that I could give them some sense of the diversity of trees that are all around us right now. I just wish there was some way that the children that are growing up under impossibly artificial circumstances could somehow get in touch with the land.
Because of Kathleen Anderson's journals, 2 recent publications have been able to establish local evidence of changes in bird populations and its link to global climate change. Kathleen has also seen to the preservation of her 100-acre Wolf Trap Hill farm as conservation land. Her gift to nature
and the children of future generations.
There was a time when all of nature filled the air and it was sweet. They came from the clouds, they came from the oceans, they came from the earth beneath our feet. It was life, it was good, it was the way we know it should be. If we open our eyes and look around, we call to arms, we sound the alarm. We clean the air, we clean the water, we clean the land and build our farms. Get in touch with the land, in touch with the land. We'll get in touch with the land, with the land, with the land.
My name is Dan Brillman. I'm the host of Playing Guitar, Writing Songs, and recorded right here at the Abington, Massachusetts Cable Television Studio. It is our basic right as Americans to breathe clean, unpolluted air, to drink clean, unpolluted water, and to eat healthy, nourishing food. Along with comfortable and safe shelter, these are the rights we all share as human beings. But there is another right that is protected by the Constitution of the United States, the First Amendment to the Constitution, and that is freedom of speech. This could also be interpreted as freedom of thought, freedom of ideas, and freedom of expression. In short, freedom to be. That's why this public access television studio is so important. This is the only platform where this right, this freedom, is available to every American, to every one of us. Here in the town of Abington, Massachusetts, and many cities and towns across this great land, America, it is this freedom, this First Amendment, that has made us great. Let me read the First Amendment to you. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press or to the right of the people to peaceably assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. Local cable access television is one of the very few platforms where the people have a voice. But funding for cable access may be threatened. Cable access television is the coverage of selectmen's meetings, governmental meetings, important information that democracy thrives on. Cable access television is the educational channel and the recording of our children's concerts, plays, and sports coverage. Cable access is our community's voice. Cable access is internships, teaching our children to exercise their First Amendment rights. They are being taught here at Cable Access to create TV. These basic rights, which unfortunately we sometimes take for granted, are not guaranteed. If we don't arm ourselves with the correct information and actively protect our rights, we could lose them. The FCC rulemaking docket number 05-311 is not a done deal. Our budgets have not been cut yet. This is a call to action to our political leaders, our educators, our government officials, and to ourselves. We need to uphold our First Amendment to the Constitution. Come down to your local cable access station and learn more about what this extremely valuable service means to us, our families, and to our communities.